Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. Living in a neighborhood with a homeowners association can be a real pain. The homeowner association folks act like they own the whole place and can make up whatever rules they want. My family got a taste of how crazy they can be when we moved into our new house last year. My mom uses a wheelchair to get around ever since she was in a bad car accident a few years back. Even with her disability, she does her best to take care of me and my little sister. So when we were looking for a house, the first thing she checked was that it was wheelchair accessible. We found this nice single-story house in a quiet little subdivision. It even had a ramp already installed leading up to the front door. Perfect, we thought. No more struggling upstairs for Mom. But we didn't count on the homeowner association. Almost as soon as we moved in, they started nitpicking every little thing about our house and yard. Our grass wasn't green enough. There were too many flowers in the garden. Our mailbox was the wrong color. Seriously, they were obsessed with the dumbest details. We tried to be polite and cooperate at first. Mom asked them for suggestions on fixing up the yard. We repainted the mailbox to match the approved color scheme. But no matter what we did, the homeowner association board just kept finding more things to complain about. The final straw was when they tried to ban my sister from playing basketball in our driveway. They said the sound of the ball bouncing was a noise disturbance. Come on, she's a kid. Let her have some fun outside. Mom decided enough was enough. She went to the next homeowner association meeting and told them to lay off with the crazy rules. Things got heated fast. The head of the homeowner association, this lady named Karen, who I swear had a personal vendetta against us, started yelling at my mom right there in the meeting. She said we needed to get in line and threaten fines if we didn't comply. Well, my mama didn't take too kindly to being hollered at like that. She may be in a wheelchair, but she still has a backbone. She told Karen and the board that we weren't going to put up with their nonsense anymore. If they wanted to fine us, they'd have to take us to court. Karen's face turned red with anger. I think she was shocked that someone finally stood up to her. The meeting ended quickly after that, but we could tell this was just the beginning of their harassment. Over the next few weeks, they kept sending us letters about supposed violations and fines we owed. It was ridiculous. $500 for not trimming the hedges on the right day. $1,000 for missing a spot when painting the trim. Every time we turned around, there was a new fee tacked on. Mom tried to reason with them, but Karen wouldn't budge. She acted like we owed her money simply for breathing the same air. No matter how many times we explained we couldn't afford these insane fines, the letters just kept coming. It all reached a boiling point one Saturday afternoon. My sister and I were home watching TV when the doorbell rang. I looked out the window and saw Karen standing there with another man from the homeowner association board. I tried to pretend no one was home, but they must have seen the TV flickering through the window. Next thing I know, I hear Karen yelling that she's coming inside to do a compliance inspection. And I'm not kidding. She shoves the front door open while I'm still standing there. Before I can even react, she barges right in with the other homeowner association guy trailing behind her. My mom wheels into the room to see what's going on. As soon as Karen sees her, she starts going off about how we're breaking homeowner association rules, and she's here to issue more fines. My mom stands her ground and tells Karen she needs to leave our house immediately. That's when things turned violent. Karen gets right up in my mom's face, pointing her bony finger and shouting about non-compliance. She gives my mom's wheelchair a hard shove, nearly tipping her over. Then the crazy lady tries to snatch the TV remote off the coffee table, saying we're forbidden from watching television during homeowner association inspections. Seeing Karen lay her hands on my disabled mama like that made something snap inside me. Before I even realized what I was doing, I balled up my fist and swung as hard as I could. I socked Karen right across the jaw. She let out this high-pitched shriek and stumbled backwards. The other homeowner association guy caught her before she fell. I stood there huffing with anger while Karen cried dramatically that I had assaulted her. She whipped out her cell phone and threatened to call the police on us. That's exactly what we told her to do. There was no way I was going to let her get away with attacking my mom and illegally barging into our home. We told her to go right on ahead and call the police. We'd be telling them all about the homeowner association harassment too. Long story short, the cops arrived and Karen tried her damnedest to spin the story around on us. But when my mom and I explained everything, and showed the officers all the bogus violation letters, they could tell who the real troublemaker was. Karen ended up getting slapped with an assault charge for shoving my mom's wheelchair. Talk about sweet justice. We also filed a restraining order against Karen and the homeowner association board to keep them from setting foot on our property again. and we're looking into a lawsuit for harassment and discrimination against people with disabilities. So the moral of the story is don't mess with a mama bear, especially when her cubs are involved. That homeowner association. Karen might act all high and mighty, but she picked the wrong family to terrorize. After she put her hands on my mom, all bets were off. Maybe next time she'll think twice before bullying and assaulting innocent folks just trying to live their lives in peace. We're standing up for our rights, and now the whole neighborhood knows better than to cross us. The next one is a pro-revenge story. I regretfully got an apartment with what is, in my opinion, the worst landlord ever. This man, I will call entitled Dick or ED, has the audacity to call himself a good person in court. Let me fill you in. I got an apartment shortly after being released from prison, happy that someone was going to give me a chance to improve my life. This was clearly not the case. All was well for the first few months, then winter hit and the heat went out. It took 3 days to get ED to even answer his phone. By that time, his voicemail was full of complaints from his freezing cold tenants. He told me the law gave him reasonable time to fix it. We went 2 more weeks with no heat, using our stoves and camping in the kitchen in our respective apartments. When ED got his electricity bill, he attempted to raise the rent on the apartments. Obviously, he was not allowed by the city, so he refused to pay his electricity bill, thus denying all of us heat at all. This is where my OCD kicked in and I went full research mode. I studied every law in regards to federal, state, and city landlord tenant laws and rights. I found so many violations it was no longer funny but scary. I studied building code. I studied the condition of all of his apartments. This was easier due to the fact I was either friends with his tenants or had gone there to repair damages caused by frozen pipes and electrical outlets failing due to shoddy wiring and so forth. ED had pissed off all of his tenants. Every last one was pissed to the point where they wanted to testify against him in court, but couldn't due to the financial hardships the living conditions we were in had been causing. I formulated a plan to get him to repair the buildings he owned, but ED had his own plan. January 2nd at 2 a.m. I was awoken by the smoke detectors in the whole building going off. I quickly ran to the back hall because no smoke was in my apartment yet, but I was on the top floor. I opened the door and was greeted by a thick wall of smoke. I quickly ran downstairs after shouting for my GF at the time to get out of the house quick. I pounded on every door and screamed fire. I got as many people as possible to evacuate, but the floor with the fire no one was answering, and to my knowledge contained children. So I panicked. At this point, the fire department was there and began breaking in doors. I evacuated. After the fire was out and the investigation had started, I witnessed ED give the tenant of that apartment's sister an envelope containing an undisclosed amount of cash, which was visible to anyone nearby. 2 weeks later, the results were released. Arson. The tenant had used hairspray to start the fire and hid the evidence in a hole she punched into the wall. The very person who had been given money by the landlord. Ironically, she was the only tenant who had paid rent in the whole building because she had started moving in 2 days prior. I had not known she was now a tenant and her sister and kids had moved out the day before. I looked at ED and told him, I know what he had done, and I was not going to rest until he lost all his buildings. I then began asking his tenants for their stories about their interaction with ED. This is where things got real. He had been accused of everything from ripping off employees, theft, grand theft auto, bank fraud, and so much more. I formulated a new plan. I sucked up to him and made it known I am a computer tech. ED had a few broken computers and some printer and network issues. I was in. We worked a deal on payment for back rent. I knew he was not good for his word, but it was all part of the plan. Once I got his passwords and logins, I copied his entire HDD to my portable one. I copied all emails in his business account and printed his financial records on my Wi-Fi printer, which was next door. After I fixed his computers and network, I then went home to review my newfound evidence. It was enough. More than enough. I contacted code enforcement with all of the violations of code for every building, including the illegal electrical installation in his new office without permits or even an electrician. He was immediately investigated. That night I found a 7-day notice to quit on my door. My roommate was worried, but I filled him in on the plan. Remember I studied all those laws and rights? Well, we get to court and I open with your honor. I have proof of a clear violation of the Warranty of Habitability Act. The eviction was thrown out and he was forced to repair my apartment with me still in it immediately. The next month I was given another eviction notice. Still, he is losing money due to the fact I was teaching his tenants landlord-tenant rights and the laws associated with it. ED kept losing his court dates and kept being told to fix stuff, and was continuously fined by the courts and the code enforcement. He was sinking fast. Back to that fire, the woman living there was arrested for arson and charged with 2 counts due to the accidental electrical fire on New Year's Day turned out to be ruled intentional. So the hairspray was in reality attempt 2. He was under investigation for conspiracy to arson and other charges. I wasn't done yet. We went to court again for my non-payment of rent. I won again based on the Landlord Retaliation Act because I had contacted code enforcement and can prove this blatant retaliation, and the judge didn't even listen to ED. Needless to say, spending the winter without heat took a toll on East tenants. We bought electric heaters and informed the power company that the landlord had shut off all the power to all his building and was requiring the tenants to pay for their own power. Well, apparently his illegal wiring caught up to him. He had wired apartments to run off each other, and the common areas were now attached to wiring in every apartment. This put ED in a rough position as local law says it's the landlord's responsibility to supply power to all common areas. This means his shoddy workmanship and illegal wiring prevents him from legally disconnecting the power. The power company turned on all the power and locked his ability to shut it off until the wiring of common areas was repaired and separated from the apartments. This would cost thousands. Thousands we knew he didn't have. ED was panicking. He kept losing in court, people were legally withholding rent, he couldn't shut off services, and the fines were debilitating. He kept blaming his tenants and refused to repair things. One by one, the buildings were condemned, and ED was required to pay for relocation of his tenants by law. Well, he didn't. He couldn't. He was arrested for attempting to sell 3 buildings the city confiscated from him, and for selling one that was condemned. ED got what he deserved. He lost every building he owned, got charged with all kinds of fraud, and was investigated for other crimes I am still unaware of. But I wasn't done. He caused a lot of suffering. I gave his financial records to the IRS with all the internal memos and everything I got from his computers. Also, I provided the local authorities and code enforcement with the same things. ED was so screwed, and I have since gotten a new apartment and everything he owned has been taken by the city, state, and IRS. I have not seen ED in 3 years, and all of his properties have been bought by someone new, repaired, and have all new tenants who are happy with their new landlords. The old tenants got better places with decent landlords. And what about our wonderful entitled Dick? He is serving multiple sentences for the crimes he has committed and is already not getting out anytime soon, yet the investigations are not done and the charges keep coming. ED is somewhere in some prison regretting meeting this tenant. The next one is a petty revenge story. I was working at a Tim Hortons in my youth, think 19, 20 years old, and I prided myself on polite and courteous service. I was always cheerful and tried my best to fill orders promptly. I managed this by telling myself that even the worst customer could just be a normal person on the most terrible day of their life. I usually brightened people's days and saw many grumpy people leave happier because of me. Until the Karen came in. I was dealing with a lunch rush, which means for several hours people stream in as if food and drink had never existed and will never exist again. So, there were a lot of people to get through. A lot. So under these conditions, the Karen showed herself. She was belligerent, rude, and had a truly massive order to fill. Nothing I couldn't handle. However, she had several drinks ordered, think 8 different beverages, and she had 3 dozen donuts, which is fine, nothing out of the ordinary, but she had to have them specifically in a certain order in the boxes, and this took time as she ordered me about. No problem, I've dealt with weirder things while working there. The line, however, was backing up while I was serving her, and her true colors were starting to show as I filled her order. Then we get to check out. I start to ring her up. She changes her order, 3rd time again, and wants to add 4 sandwiches. I say, "Ma'am, could we ring the drink and donuts through first? Until I ring you through completely, it ties up a cash register." The Karen screeches, "I only pay more taxes on my order, you won't cheat me." I stare rather dumbfounded at this logic. I tried to argue with her, saying, "Ma'am, this won't increase your taxes, it's just faster." The Karen interrupts, "No, I won't be cheated, you hear me?" And I shoot a deeply apologetic glance at my coworkers, who are now, regretfully, dealing with a crowd with 1 less cash register. Then proceed to head to the deli to make her sandwiches, as fast as I physically can, so I can get back to the counter. The Karen smugly chides and reproaches me while I make her order, telling me, "You're making the sandwich wrong," and tries several times to order me about as if I were a complete idiot. As I'm finishing my 2nd sandwich for this woman, I am getting irritated with her attitude. I still politely inform her that I have to assemble the sandwiches in a certain order. I even have a physical chart to follow. I could get fired for not following the chart. She harumphs at me, while muttering under her breath about how no one respects their elders anymore, and duck you, and more angrily idiot, when I am beginning the fourth sandwich. My sunny disposition was leaving me at this point. This woman obviously had no respect for me, thinks I am incompetent, and doesn't care if she insults me. So impulsively, I came up with a plan as I finished up the fourth and final sandwich. Smacking my head, I say, "Oh, I almost forgot." The Karen grumbles, "Forgot what?" I say, "Well, we have a new promotional offer and I almost forgot to ask you about it. You see, Tim Hortons has been doing ergonomic studies and has found that right-handed people and left-handed people hold bags differently." The Karen look interested, so I continue. "So with these findings, they designed ergonomic bags for their customers as a promotional offer. Would you like to participate?" The Karen huffed at me. "Of course I want to participate." I give my best customer service smile and say, "Okay, would you like a left-handed bag or a right-handed bag?" The Karen looks offended. "A right-handed one, of course," I say. "Of course, ma'am," and duck down below the counter to quietly rummage through the completely identical bags I have. I decide to take the whole thing a step further, and I pop back up with a look of pure regret on my face. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, we only have left-handed bags left, is that okay?" The Karen is upset with this turn of events, but does not wish to lose out on the promotion. Fine," she says icily and grabs her order. I ring her through and watch her walk out the door with complete satisfaction in my soul. The added cherry? I heard her complaining about her left-handed bag to her friend as she walked out with her order, and the confused look on the friend's face was priceless as this woman idioted and moaned about this completely made-up problem. I never did anything like this before or since. She was a special kind of a-hole. The Karen with the left-handed bag. The next one is a malicious compliance story. About a year ago, I was working at a local bagel restaurant that made both breakfast and lunch sandwiches. To set the scene, it's Saturday afternoon and we're between rushes. This lady, we'll call her Karen, walks in asking for a takeout order that she's made online. My coworker on the register doesn't recognize her name and ends up going through the reg to try to find it. After not finding it, my coworker asks her what her order was and tells her that we'll make it ASAP. She gets angry and starts going off on my coworker about how she's incompetent and that she's placed it earlier that morning, that she needs to be somewhere soon, and that it must be in there. She apparently was in a hurry. Coworker goes through the reg again, and again, no online order. They finally get Karen to place her order and it's put on the line. Tuna and chicken salad. Girl wrangled Karen like a pro. I get the misfortune of making the order and Karen is watching me make the sandwich like a hawk inspecting a field mouse. Tells me that one of the bagels is not toasted enough and that the other was burned. They weren't. But I remade them anyway. The next part is really where she reaches peak Karen. To preface, I was always trained to use one gloved hand to hold the bagel and an ungloved hand on the spreading knives. If I was handling meat or fish, it required 2 gloves with exception to tuna and chicken spread because you use knives with those. Anyway, Karen stops me midway though her order and tells me to put on another glove. A bit annoyed with how closely she was watching me and with how she treated my coworker, I say, "Oh, of course." Put on another glove and wiggle my fingers at her to show the gloved hands. I go back to making her sandwiches. I finish the order and go to hand her her bag when she says, "Actually, I don't want those. Get me your manager." At this point, I'm more than a bit angry. This Karen comes into the shop, is angry at us, the employees, because we didn't receive her order for some weird tech reason. Tells me how to do my job, and lets me complete 2 sandwiches before making me get my manager. So I go in the back, tell my manager that there's a Karen waiting for her, not in those words, and go back out with her. I clean up nearby while my manager talks to her. Karen tells her that I was only using 1 glove and that I should be fired, to which she replies that that's how I was trained, and that's how the restaurant is run. We've never had a health code citation for anything ever, and if she wants to look through the reports, she's more than welcome. To which the Karen backs down and says something about maybe wanting the sandwiches after all. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. I knew that she was in a hurry to get somewhere, and her sandwiches are still on the counter. I pick them up, make dead eye contact with her, and throw them away. My manager, not noticing that I did this, turns to me and asks about the sandwiches. I smile and say I threw them away because Karen said she didn't want them, and that they'll have to be remade. My other coworker, one that's been doing dishes, comes out completely oblivious to the situation. I give the order to him and warn him to use 2 gloves and tell him to take his time and make sure the order is perfect. It's not much, but I'm satisfied that I slowed her down. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.